Hi, everybody. Beth Combs here with Canyon Community Yoga. Just checking in to see, let's see. I need to check and make sure that the audio is working because I was having some issues earlier. All right, so hopefully all of you are doing well. We are hanging in there here at the Grand Canyon. We did get some good news that the park has been authorized to close, so the community is very excited about hopefully containing the spread of the virus. But I think one thing that many of us are noticing, and maybe you've noticed, I, to be honest, I'm not watching the news. My husband tells me what's going on because I find it a little bit overwhelming. But I think there are a lot of people out there who have shown compassion to their neighbors lately, but there are other people who, for whatever reason, are scared and lashing out towards people who might not feel well. And so the word compassion was just coming through really strong for me today. And just putting myself in someone's shoes if they don't feel well, even if they don't actually have coronavirus, but if they have the flu or they have a cold or whatever. Right now, I think there's a lot of fear and misunderstanding, and people see someone with a mask or they see someone who is trying to hunker down and stay home and actually help support their community by not spreading anything around. But it makes it really lonely for those people too. And so finding ways to reach out to your friends, your loved ones, your neighbors, even strangers, offering to get groceries for people, setting up phone calls or video chats with people just to check in and see how they're doing. I especially, my heart really goes out to folks that the seniors in particular in our communities who already struggle with loneliness and maybe don't get to see their family as much as they'd like to, and now they might be isolated for an extended period of time. So I just wanted to offer a practice this evening. It will not be super challenging. To be honest, I'm actually on my bleed right now, so I'm going to be doing some movement, but not a lot. So for those of you that are just beginning your yoga journey, do not feel intimidated by any of the poses that I am doing this evening. I don't expect it to be super physical. So hopefully that will help. And as I said, the word compassion has been coming up pretty strongly for me today. So what I invite you and encourage you to do is to actually show compassion towards yourself. And I think sometimes that's even harder for us than showing compassion to other people that we're surrounded by or in our community. But what I encourage you to do this evening is, as we move through the poses, as we hold each of the poses, I want you to check in with your body and check in with how you feel in each of the poses that we're going to be doing tonight. And just see what comes up and then see if you can actually follow it. So I really think, if we're doing a standing pose and you're really tired and that doesn't feel great for your body, you can always sit back down in easy pose, or you can lay down in child's pose or shavasana. You can take a lot of different resting poses to support yourself and your body and where you're at right now. So again, I just encourage you to express compassion towards yourself during your practice and throughout your practice tonight. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'll move my chair out of the way, and then I'm going to go ahead and set up on the mat behind me. And hopefully you'll be able to hear me okay. My microphone is attached to the camera, but I think we did pretty well last week. So definitely type in the chat if you're having issues at all, and I will try to speak louder or try to figure something else out. I also wanted to mention, just real quick, feel free to put some nice music on if you'd like. I like the spa channel on SiriusXM myself. And also, I've got my diffuser going here, which I don't know if you can see it or not. Yeah, there we go. And tonight I've got eucalyptus, and I think I put orange and eucalyptus together. And so eucalyptus is really great for respiratory issues in particular. And I am definitely noticing some allergy symptoms myself. So if you've got some oils nearby, maybe put a few drops of eucalyptus on the cotton ball and stick it like at the front of your mat, or run your diffuser. So go ahead and get yourself set up pretty comfy. I've got my 2 blocks, my strap, and a couple blankets and a pillow, and also my bolster. So I would say go ahead and grab those props if you don't have them. We may not use all of them, but I just like to always have more than enough to help support myself. So we'll go ahead and get started. So again, if you don't have a bolster, but maybe you've got a sofa cushion, you can use that instead. Blankets, if you don't have those, you can use towels that are folded up too. Strap, you could use a bathrobe strap or tie, or a belt. And then your blocks, you can also use some books or boxes that are pretty sturdy. So quite the variety of options available to you. All right, let me get my timer set up so I make sure I don't run over. And we're going to actually start out, I'm going to sit on my bolster in hero's pose. So you've got a couple different options. You want your ankles hugging whatever it is you're going to be sitting on. And then you're going to kneel down and then sit back on the bolster. And if that really brings a lot of tension into your knees, like it does for me, you can actually sit yourself up on a blanket or a pillow or a couple blankets. The other option for this pose is to actually stack your blocks on top of each other, and your ankles actually squeeze the blocks, and then you sit up on the blocks. So the higher you go, the less tension you have in your knees. And actually that feels a little better for my body right now, so I think I'm going to stick with the blocks. But some people can sit all the way down on their heels, and if you feel like you can do that, by all means, feel free. I just know I have a lot of issues with my knees, and so they are very finicky about how they get folded. So we're going to go ahead and get set up for your knees however feels best for you. You want to make sure that your sits bones are really connected to the blocks, really grounding down into the mat and into the earth. And you have a variety of options for your hands. You can place them in your lap with the palms facing up, just like this. Or you can place your hands palms facing down on your thighs. If you want to feel a little bit more grounded, this is a nice option. It kind of helps connect you into the earth a little bit more. If you're feeling like you want to be a little more receptive this evening, then you can flip the palms to face the ceiling instead. So you want to ground the sits bones down into what you're sitting on, and then you want to lengthen up through your spine, almost like you have a string pulling out the crown of your head. And we're just going to settle in here and begin to notice our breath. So begin to lengthen your inhales and your exhales. Maybe even begin to allow your tongue to release from the roof of your mouth. Allow the exhales to gently stroke the back of your throat. This is the Ujjayi breath. You might notice it sounds like ocean waves crashing on the shore, or it sounds like Darth Vader breath. Again, just check in and make sure your tongue is not glued to the roof of your mouth. Maybe you might notice that when you begin breathing, you might have a lot of breathing in the upper chest. So I invite you to place one hand on your heart and one hand below your belly button, and just see if we can start to get a little bit more breath into the belly region and not so much in the upper chest. So we'll lower our hands down by our sides. And throughout the practice, since it's going to be a little bit slower and we're inviting compassion and self-compassion into our bodies and into our spirit, I want you to notice any tension or any pushback or any judgment that comes up if you decide to follow along with a slower practice. Women in particular, we follow a cycle every month called the menstrual cycle. The bleed is just the first 3 to 5 to 7 days of that cycle. Our energy levels fluctuate throughout that cycle, and our bodies are primed for more or less activity depending on where we're at. So during our bleed, it's actually encouraged to slow down, to be a little more contemplative, to be a little more introspective. And especially with a lot of folks right now having to stay at home, this time in the cycle actually is really conducive to allowing that to happen a little bit more. So I just encourage you, if you see any judgment or notice any judgment that comes up during your practice tonight, just see if you can let it be there and see if you can show yourself a little bit of compassion while you shift through or sift through those emotions that might be coming up for you. So we'll go ahead and place our fingertips to the right. We'll inhale. We'll inhale, come back up to center, and we'll place the left fingertips on the mat. Inhale, bring the right arm up. Exhale, fold over to the left. Flatten that left hand on the mat. Again, feel free to turn your gaze towards the ceiling. Make sure you're pushing up through the left arm so you're not sinking into that left wrist and possibly damaging it. So we'll inhale, come back up to center. And we'll do just a little micro twist here. So we're going to sit up nice and tall. We're going to inhale, and then we'll exhale, place our right hand on our right hip and the left hand on the right knee, or as close as you can get it. Inhale, sit up a little taller. Exhale, rotate to the right. And we don't want to make a lot of deep twists during our bleed. So just a little twist, kind of squeeze those digestive organs a little bit. Squeeze out the toxins that we might be exposed to lately. Go ahead and gaze over that right shoulder. Get a nice stretch through the neck. We'll exhale, come back to center, and we'll switch sides. So left hand on the left hip, right arm or hand on the left thigh. Inhale, sit up nice and tall. Exhale, twist to the left. Go ahead and gaze over that left shoulder. Exhale, come back to center. And then we'll go ahead and get up off the blocks. And we'll come into tabletop position. So in tabletop, we want our wrists lined up right underneath our shoulders and our knees lined up right underneath our hips. We want the tops of our feet flat on the mat. And we're going to take a few rounds of cat-cow here. So we'll inhale and we'll lift our forehead and our tailbone up towards the ceiling. And then exhale and round the back and pull the belly button towards the spine. Inhale to come up. Exhale to pull back. Inhale to come up. Exhale, pull back. Do a few more following your own breath. And then we'll all meet back in tabletop position. And then we're going to do a few hip circles here. So there's a couple options here. You can make an oval, bringing your butt back towards your heels and then forward. Remember to breathe here. The other option is to take a hula hoop shape with your hips. So dropping the hips towards the mat and then bringing the tailbone up towards the ceiling. We'll take 5 in one direction and then switch directions. And then we'll come back to center. And then we'll wake up the abdominals just a little bit. We're going to bring the right hand out in front of us with our fingertips on the mat and bring the left toes back behind us. Pull the belly button in towards the spine. If you're getting a good workout here, go ahead and leave your hand and your foot on the mat. You can also bring just the arm up alongside your ear, or if you'd like more of a challenge, you can lift the left foot up off the mat, push through the heel, and don't go up any higher than your hip. So I don't want your foot way up in the air. And then we'll come back to tabletop position and we'll switch sides. So left fingertips out in front, right toes back behind. Make sure you're pushing up from your right wrist. Don't sink into that wrist. You want that right arm active. So again, pull the belly button in towards the spine. If this feels challenging, then stay right here. If you want a little bit more, you can bring the left arm up alongside the left ear. You can also bring that right foot up, push through the right heel. So yogi's choice. Again, show yourself compassion wherever your body feels like it needs to be this evening. So I'm on my bleed and I'm not going to push myself as far or as hard as I might in a different part of my cycle. I'm still getting a great abdominal engagement even in this position. And then exhale and come back to center, to tabletop position. And then we're gonna bring ourselves back into child's pose. So you have a couple options here. You can bring the legs together so the knees are touching. And then you sit back on your heels. You can actually place a blanket on top of your thighs and fold forward, placing a block underneath your forehead. And you can have your arms outstretched with the elbows lifted, or you can rest the forearms on the mat, or you can bring the arms back, wrapping around, and the fingers are touching your feet. So depending on what you've got going on with your shoulders, try the 3 different options and see which one is feeling the best for you tonight. You want your tailbone pointing towards your heels. They likely won't get there, that's okay. Your other option, you can remove the blanket. You can actually keep the big toes together, widen the knees the width of the mat, and then bring your forehead down onto that block. And then inhale, come back up to tabletop position. And then we're gonna do a brief downward facing dog. So your hands are under your wrists, your wrists are under your shoulders. Go ahead and walk them about 1 palm's distance in front of you. You're gonna flip the toes so that they are on the mat. The bottoms of the toes are now on the mat. And you're gonna push yourself up and lift your hips back towards the ceiling. Maybe walk your feet out a little bit here. So in downward facing dog, you want even weight between your hands and your feet. And you want most of the weight that's in your hands between your index fingers and your thumbs. So kind of an L shape in your hands there. Feel free to pedal the feet out and stretch out the calves. Remember, we're gonna step up towards the top of the mat in between the hands. So our feet are in between our hands. And we're just gonna hang here like a rag doll in forward fold. Feel free to clasp your elbows here. You can bend your knees if your hamstrings are tight. Allow your head to lengthen towards the floor. And then we'll inhale and we'll sweep the arms up and around. Bring the hands down to heart center. And then we're going to do a few rounds of our resilience breath. So to do that, let me just demonstrate real quick and then I'll guide you through it. We'll inhale, sweep the arms up. And then we're going to exhale, bring the hands to heart center. And we're going to sigh our exhale. So I want you to be as loud as you want to be, as you feel like you need to be to release the tension from the day and the week. Inhale. Exhale. We're going to do that 4 more times. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. 2 more. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. So we'll take a moment here in mountain pose. So in mountain pose, we want our weight even between all 4 corners of the feet. We want our quads to be pulling up away from our kneecaps. We want to bring our frontal hip points and our front ribs together, kind of like a mini crunch. You can also just imagine your tailbone reaching towards your heels. That'll activate the same muscles. And then you want your shoulders nice and, collarbone nice and wide. Shoulders, your ears lined up with your shoulders. Back and down, the shoulder blades down the back. You can keep the hands at heart center and just breathe here, a few breaths. Maybe returning to that Ujjayi breath, or you can exhale out the mouth if that feels better for you. So whatever you feel like you need in your practice tonight. All right, so we'll do just 1 or 2 sun salutations. So again, another thing about when you're bleeding, you don't necessarily want to do a lot of inversions. So anytime that your head ends up being above your heart or below your heart, so forward fold, downward dog, those are ones I'm not going to stay in. for a really long period of time, just to support where I'm at, where my body's at in my cycle right now. So we'll inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale and fold forward. So keep your knees bent if you need to. We're going to lift our torsos halfway up. So place the hands on the side of your shins and lift your torso halfway up. And then we're going to place the hands on the mat and we're going to bring ourselves down to tabletop position. And then lower your torso all the way down. And then I want all 10 of your toes touching the mat. Pull your tailbone down towards your feet. And then inhale and lift your torso up into a baby cobra. And then exhale, bring yourself back up to tabletop and then back to downward facing dog. Again, feel free to pedal your feet out here. You need to stretch your calves. You can also keep your knees bent if your hamstrings are tight. And if this is very challenging for you, and a little too much for what you need tonight, you can always lower down and come into child's pose. So inhale, and then we're going to step the feet up in between the hands and fold forward. And then we're going to sweep the arms up and around and bring the hands down to heart center. And then we're going to go ahead and come back down to tabletop position. And we're going to set up for a low lunge. So you might want your blocks near the front of your mat. You want your tabletop position, and then we're going to go ahead and pick up the right foot, bring it in between the hands or as close as you can get it. The main goal is to get the ankle lined up right beneath the knee. And then you're going to bring the blocks to either side of that foot. And you want to make sure you have a nice angle from the left hip down to that left knee. So you don't want the left knee right underneath the left hip. So go ahead and place your hands on the blocks here. Pull the belly button in towards the spine to activate the abdominals. We're just going to breathe here into that left hip flexor. If this is too much, you can always bring the blocks up a lot higher. And we're going to move from the blocks and bring our hands up to our bent knee. Then we'll inhale, bring the arms up alongside the ears. And then we're going to place our right hand on our right hip, and we're going to bend just slightly to the right. This actually stretches the psoas muscle. This stretch can be very helpful if you've got menstrual cramps at all. Then we'll exhale, bring the hands back down to the blocks. And then we're going to take a hamstring stretch here. So keep your feet where they're at. You're going to move your hips. So you're going to shift your hips back. Now you're going to have that left knee right below the left hip. You can bring your blocks with you. And I want you to pick up the right toes so that they're pointing towards the ceiling. You should feel a nice stretch in the back of the right leg. If it's a little too intense, again, you can bring the blocks up higher. You can also bend that knee. So we'll exhale, place that right foot back down. You can move the blocks back up towards the front of the mat. And then bring your right foot back, come back to tabletop position. And then we're going to switch sides here. So left foot in between the hands now. You can bring the blocks so that they're on either side of the foot here. Again, push up from your hands. So we don't want to be sinking into our wrists. That can damage our wrists. You want your wrists lined up underneath your shoulders. You want that left ankle lined up underneath that left knee. Pull the belly button towards the spine just a little bit. And this is helping to stretch, again, that hip flexor on the right side as well as the psoas. So we'll take a few breaths here. Then we're going to bring our hands up to our left knee. Then if you feel stable, you can bring your arms up alongside your ears. And we'll place the left hand on the left hip and bend over to the left. And then we'll come back to center. And then we're going to do a hamstring stretch on the left side. So again, scoot the blocks back if you need. Lift those left toes up towards the ceiling. Then place the left foot back down. You can move the blocks out of the way, off to one side. Come back to tabletop position, and then we'll lower down to child's pose once again. You don't have to have your forehead on a block, but I've just found it's a little bit more nourishing for me. This area is the sixth chakra. This is where your intuition lies. And I just feel a little bit more grounded when I have it connecting with the block, since I can't quite get my forehead all the way to the mat. So we'll come back up to a comfortable seated position, and we're going to set up for butterfly pose. So for me, My tailbone likes to stick out. My butt kind of sticks out a little bit. So to help my spine get in better alignment, I like to sit up on a blanket or a pillow for a lot of my seated poses. So we'll put the soles of our feet together out in front of us. Sit up nice and tall here. You can hold on to your shins if you'd like. Really root down through those sits bones. Even if they're on a blanket, you should feel nice and grounded and connected with the earth. Go ahead and close your eyes here. And sometimes you might notice tension in your low back during your bleed. So sometimes I like to actually fold forward here, reach the arms out in front, or you can keep them on your feet. Then inhale, bring yourself back up to seated. And then we're going to do a few more forward folds here. So these folds, I'm going to use my blankets. So this is really helpful if you're on your bleed to actually have something that's going to support your diaphragm as you fold forward. So you're going to extend both legs, flex the feet so your toes are pointing towards the ceiling. I have my strap here just to help me reach my feet a little bit more. I'm going to inhale, sit up nice and tall, and then exhale and fold forward. Wrap the strap around the balls of the feet. Widen the elbows. Again, feel free to bend the knees if the hamstrings are tight or the low back is really tight. I want you to see where you can show yourself compassion in some of these forward folds in particular. And we'll inhale, bring the strap or the arms up alongside the ears, and then exhale to lower down. We'll move the blanket. We're going to keep the right foot extended. Bring the left leg in. So the sole of the left foot is on the inside of the right thigh. And then I'm going to pick up my blankets again to support my diaphragm. And I'm going to grab my strap. And then I'm also going to put a block underneath this leg because this hip seems to not want to allow this leg to go down. And so sometimes it helps release the hip a little bit. It doesn't grip as much if you've got a little blanket or a pillow. The block is almost a little too high for me, but that's all I've got. So I'll make it work. Inhale, lift the arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, lower the arms down, and then we'll switch legs. So left leg out in front, the right foot comes up, and the sole of the right foot is on the inside of the upper left thigh. Flex that left foot. If you need to, place a block underneath that right knee. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, fold forward. Reach toward the foot. Feel free to close your eyes here. Maybe gaze down towards your leg or your blankets. Inhale, come back up to center. Exhale, lower down. You can move the blankets out of the way for a second. And then go ahead and widen your legs as far as feels comfortable for you. If you've got a bolster or a sofa cushion, feel free to bring that in. It's going to sit right up against you. And again, I'm going to use my blankets here to help support my diaphragm. So if you can only widen your legs the width of the mat, that is okay. So again, whatever feels most comfortable for your body, you're going to flex through both of your feet. Feel free to bend the knees here if your hamstrings are tight, again, or your low back is tight. And then we're going to inhale, sit up nice and tall, and then exhale and fold forward any amount. Maybe turn your head to the right. Lift the head up, switch. Look to the left. We'll inhale, we'll come back up to center. Move the block. You can move the blankets and the bolster. And we're going to go ahead and grab your block and keep it close to the outside of your foot. We're going to inhale, bring the left arm up alongside the ear, and then exhale and fold over to the right any amount. So maybe you leave your arm on top of your leg. Maybe it rests on the block outside your leg or on the inside of your leg. If you need to, you can always bring the block up higher. You can turn your gaze up towards the ceiling underneath your left arm. So we'll inhale, come back up to center, then we're going to switch sides here. So left arm resting on the thigh, on the block behind you, or on the block or the floor in front of you. We're going to bring that right arm up alongside the right ear. And gaze up to the right, up towards the ceiling. And we'll inhale, come back up to center. And then we'll do one more pose. We're going to do our butterfly pose, but we're going to lay back on our bolster behind us. You can take the strap if you'd like. Place it around all the way down towards your tailbone. And then the feet, the soles are touching. Oops. So you want to sit up nice and tall. And then you're just going to lay back on your blankets. I like to put blocks underneath my knees and a pillow under my head. Allow the hands to rest on either side of your body. And if this does not feel good, if you can't get enough cushions to make this comfortable, by all means, just come back up and you can stay holding on to your shins, sitting up nice and tall. Or you can even fold forward and stretch your arms out in front of you. So whatever your body is asking for, you have a few different options. So if you'd like, if this feels really yummy for you, feel free to stay in this position or this pose for your final resting pose. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and get set up in Shavasana. So you can move the blocks out of the way, remove the strap from around your legs. So for Shavasana, if my low back is tight, I like to put my knees up on a bolster, kind of like you might find if you were on a massage table. And then just to give yourself a little bit more cushion to sink into, you can take one of your blankets and place it between the bolster and your pillow for your head or your neck. And then if you have another blanket, you can actually take it and place it across your hips. That just helps you feel, it might help you feel a little bit more grounded and centered. And then feel free to lay with your arms out to the sides, any amount. This is our final resting posture or Shavasana, corpse pose. This pose is crucial because it helps us integrate all the work from our practice into each and every cell in our body. In a lot of ways, I feel like this pose is one of the best examples of compassion and self-compassion. You've gone through the rest of your practice, and now you're allowing that to integrate into your body. You're allowing yourself some rest. You might feel like it's almost a love letter to yourself after your yoga practice today. So just allow yourself to sink into the mat. With each breath, and I'll give you some guided meditation and then allow you some silence, and then I'll let you know when it's time to come out of the pose. So with each exhale, maybe you notice your body sinking further and further into the earth. Maybe you notice your grip on feeling like you need to be in control is loosening just a tiny bit with each exhale. Maybe you notice feeling more love towards yourself with each inhale. Releasing any impatience or judgment with each exhale. We need compassion in our lives, especially with all the uncertainty going on in the world right now. We must show love and compassion towards ourselves before we're able to share that with those around us. Maybe focus your breathing through your chest or your heart chakra. You can also place your hands over your heart, one on top of the other. Just to draw your attention and your focus into your center, into the core of your being. You might notice the love circling and cycling through your body with each inhale, with each breath. Starting from your heart and pumping out down your legs, to your feet, to your toes and out your toes. And then it spreads down your arms, through your fingertips and out your fingertips. And then up through your shoulders and your neck, through your jaw, your chin, your nose, your eyebrows, your forehead, and out through the crown of your head. We'll observe just a couple more moments of silence. When you're ready, begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Lengthen your inhales and your exhales. Roll over to your right side and take a couple breaths here. Then push yourself up to a comfortable seated position. So it could be simple cross-legged pose. It could be hero's pose like we started in the beginning. You can place one hand on your belly or your womb space, one hand on your heart. May you notice the love and the compassion that you've shown yourself throughout your practice this evening. This glow that emanates from your inside, your core, and out of your body and into the world. May you continue to show love and compassion towards yourself and with all of those around you. Thank you for practicing with me this evening. Hands together at heart center. Bow together. Namaste. Thank you for practicing with me tonight. We really enjoyed being able to share our practices with you all online, and we hope that they are supporting you. So if you join late and you want the replay, or even if you watch the whole thing and you want the replay, it'll be emailed out in the next hour or so. Thank you for joining me, and have a good evening. Till next time, bye.